Why should I choose silver and not gold? 95% of the gold that's ever been mined is still in existence in some form or another because it has been treasured. And yet 95%, if not more, of the silver that has ever been mined has been destroyed or used in such small quantities, for all practical purposes, it's gone forever. The elite and their central banks own tons of gold and no silver. Silver is cheaper than gold. The average American can buy 1 ounce of silver without much thought. But if he wants to even buy 1 ounce of gold, he would probably have to talk to his spouse about it. This means that when the chickens come home to roost, people will be able to afford silver on the way up than they will be able to afford gold. Gold has very few uses compared to silver. Gold mines are common, but silver is mined mainly as a byproduct of other minerals and metals like zinc. The Gold Antitrust Action Committee has led the charge for years in exposing bankers' manipulation of gold. Their investigations and awareness campaigns have led to a heightened awareness of gold in the investment community. GATA is headed by Chris Powell and Bill Murphy. This group spent $265,000 to get a full-page article in the Wall Street Journal asking, "Where is our gold?" This brave action asked the investment community why our gold reserves have not been audited in 50 years and how much gold we really have. I judge men not by the answers they give, but by the questions they ask. This question was a direct assault in the heart of the beast. GATA found out that awareness campaigns are nice, but they do not change the game. And I remember a year or so after that, GATA actually came out and supported the idea to actually sell gold and buy silver, because the battle against the bankers is easier to win in the silver market. No central banks have silver to sell like they do gold. The market for silver is so small compared to gold that very little money would be needed to have the bankers capitulate in their duplicitous acts. When the Gold Antitrust Action Committee says to sell gold and buy silver, you have to pay attention. Silver has been used as an industrial metal for the past 100 years and has not been cherished for what it really is, a precious metal. Industrial metals like aluminum, copper, and iron are plentiful and can be used in huge quantities and disposed of or recycled. Unlike most industrial metals, silver is used in such small quantities in proportion to the finished product that it's not recycled except in photography.
My socks have nano silver on them too, and they kill the bacteria that ew.
Silver literally has been thrown away into toxic trash piles all over the world and thus has disappeared. In fact, here's a chart showing for the past 64 years the world has consumed more silver than it's produced. Infinite money in a finite world. The irresistible force paradox asks, what happens when an irresistible force meets an immovable object? Our debt-based monetary system must create more debt each and every year in excess of the debt and interest accrued the year before. The more debt money the bankers create, the more profit they have. The more money, debt, the politicians spend, the more power they have. This sick symbiotic relationship of lender of last resort meets the spender of last resort ensures exponential growth of money. The elite will keep using the power of the printing press to maintain their power, but ultimately this will only accelerate their demise. There is a mathematical inevitable end to this system, as infinite money debt meets the world's finite resources and ultimately the limits of human faith. The more money and debt chasing after fewer goods and services will cause inflation. Ultimately, people's faith in currency will fail worldwide. It will become evident that the elite intend to print the currency into oblivion, ruining the main function of money as a store of value. When this happens, people will throw their depreciating currency at any tangible asset they can get their hands on. Precious metals will be the main beneficiary of this. The frightening thing is that it's not just American citizens that will be affected by this global destruction of paper currency, because this will be the first time in human history in which the entire world has become interconnected and dependent upon this fiat monetary illusion. Stop thinking about another American Great Depression and start thinking about the Dark Ages. My suggestion would be to beat the rush and panic now. People are concerned with overpopulation, unfunded liabilities, global warming, and peak oil. For the most part, these are scary campfire stories the elite pawn on us to scare the masses into larger global governance. One key flaw to all these theories is that they rely upon our current monetary order remaining in place. Since the time of the Tower of Babel, man has built systems that work against the natural laws of our world. This has accomplished great feats, but like most man-made systems, they're built on the idea of pushing to the extremes and not focusing on balance. Inevitably, all things that go up must come down, and our monetary system is no different. With the collapse of the monetary order, all these theories and problems will cease to be issues, because they will be self-corrected by the end of the one thing that makes them possible: exponential growth of money and debt. When this current monetary order dies, so will millions, if not billions of people, as an era of unlimited money comes to an end. Think of the millions that are on food stamps that have no support system to carry them. Think about the billions of dollars in food subsidies ending, food riots, skyrocketing food and fuel prices globally. In this hyperinflationary collapse of the world's money, I predict that up to 90% of your money will go towards food and fuel. Not your mortgage, not your car payments, taxes, tuitions, medical bills, or anything else. Just the basic necessities like food and fuel. Most will not be able to make this transition and unfortunately will die. And that is before the wars, riots, and violence take even more people down. This dramatic shift in life will also prevent people from having children in this turbulence. There will be a scar in the human experience that will be felt for generations. This hyperinflationary depression will stop global manufacturing in its tracks. So if you're one of those misguided people that believe in man-made global warming, the collapse of the dollar will do more to stop human activity than 10 Kyoto protocols or carbon Ponzi schemes. Peak oil theorists, you can stop worrying too. When the dollar collapses, the energy-intensive Western lifestyle will be cut by 75%. No longer will the economy be able to support gas guzzlers, the largest military power ever known, or wasteful corporate giants. The value of oil will skyrocket, and the demand will drop significantly, leading to a much longer availability of our current reserves. My greatest hope is that the elite will lose their power to manipulate the all-important oil market. I have no proof, but I've been studying these criminals for 7 years, and I believe that they have suppressed technologies that would have rendered oil less important, and I also believe that we have domestic sources here at home that have not been tapped as they set out to strategically use the rest of the world's oil first. My prediction is after a new monetary order is established, the elite will announce amazing new discoveries here at home that will shock the world. This will also push King Herbert's bell curve out further. Things that cannot go on forever won't. When the mathematically inevitable collapse of the world's fiat currency occurs, all of those problems and theories will no longer matter. There will be a massive inflation in real assets, with precious metals, food, and fuel far outpacing all other assets. This will lead to the final exhaustion as old powers try to hold on to power. This will bring about regional wars, civil wars, revolutions, famine, and disease. These events will cut populations, economies, debts, and energy use, and will throw our lives back into a much more local, slower reality. Silver has another awesome quality. It has a alloidial title to it. If you hold it, you own it. Almost every asset you own is controlled by somebody else. If you own your house outright, you still have to pay property tax, which means you really don't own it. Your cars, computers, TVs, and clothes are rendered less valuable with each registration, taxation, new fashion, or planned obsolescence. Even your stocks are not really yours because the actual certificates are being held by the nefarious DTCC. Who knows if they're selling stock that maybe they don't have? Have you ever heard of naked short selling? Silver is without counterparty risk. You do not have to rely upon somebody else fulfilling a promise for your asset to have value. All paper assets have counterparty risk. They use interest rates to value the risk that you might not get your money back. This will become very important as our society collapses and promises are broken by all. When the collapse accelerates, people will do the unspeakable thing as they become more and more desperate. People whom you have relied upon for years will suddenly break faith. This will not only happen on an individual level, but also on a corporate and governmental level. Pensions will be cut, benefits terminated, interest payments not paid. And this is where things get really scary. At this point, we will either see a deflationary crash or hyperinflationary depression. It will be a deflationary crash if there's not enough money to pay the increasing debt and interest. But I believe the elite will pay all the obligations to keep their game going.
Do you still believe that we should maintain the fundamental principles of Social Security as you did in 83?
I think we should maintain the principles of Social Security, but I think the existing structure is not working, and that until we can construct a system which creates the savings that are required to build the real assets so that the retirees have real goods and services, we don't have a system that's working. We have one that basically moves cash around, and we can guarantee cash benefits as far out and at whatever size you like, but we cannot guarantee their purchasing power. And this is why the issue ultimately has got to be resolved in terms of do we have the material goods and services that people will need to consume, not whether or not we pass some hurdle with respect to how legal financing occurs, because the financing is a secondary issue, and it's the means to create the real wealth, not an end in itself.
This will get every promise paid with toilet paper currency.
I think the government will go to some pretty good lengths to try and keep the price down. And the manipulation, see, everybody else that knows about the manipulation hates the manipulation. They're trying to end the manipulation. I don't care. Let them manipulate it as long as they can, because the longer they manipulate it, if the manipulation is ended because it's exposed by somebody working on it to get it exposed, then gold and silver aren't going to go nearly as high as they will if it continues to be manipulated until the free markets overwhelm the manipulation, which they always do. There is just no chance that they're going to be able to manipulate it forever. So it just creates a bigger opportunity and a longer period of time for people to be able to acquire precious metals at ridiculously low prices.
And it's like a spring, isn't it? The more they suppress it,
it is like a spring. Right. Yeah, you push that spring down, the harder you push it down, when you lose control, the higher it's going to bounce.
So bring it on.
Yes, bring it on, because, you know, like right now, Dave Morgan and I were just talking yesterday, and he had said that in the seminar that silver was now above mining costs, and so it wasn't, you know, I went backstage and I talked with him for a while, and I said, you know, we both agreed on everything, but he just sort of rethought the statement, because I asked him, how many primary silver producers can show a profit? And there's, you know, a number of primary silver producers, and there's only 2 that we can come up with that actually show a profit. Everybody else, year after year after year, mines silver at a loss. And then they'll do another stock issue and do a private placement and raise some money that way. But basically, they're just keeping in business so they've got an operating mine, hoping that the price is going to go up someday. Well, if they're operating at a loss, you know, you can't. That's something that can't be sustained. You can't have something that the world is running out of that's below the mining costs. That's a situation that can't last. The free markets have to correct that. But if they keep it suppressed below mining costs, it means that all these other mines that are mothballed stay mothballed, and it means that less supply comes to market. So when they do lose control, there's a bigger shortage, and the price just goes far higher because there's less for everybody to buy. And so, you know, let them do the manipulation. I think it's great. They're going to lose control. They haven't read any history. They don't realize how stupid they're acting and what it's going to cause, because that's one of the things that could cause the death of the dollar is the governments around the world trying to manipulate the price of gold. And, you know, silver, they're manipulating also, possibly to an even greater extent, but manipulating the price of gold. When gold rises, fiat currencies look bad. And if it rises too much, it attracts people away from fiat currency and toward gold, and there comes a tipping point, a breaking point, where confidence is lost in the paper.